The colony world of New Mars burned. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the TSS Dauntless, watching helplessly as emerald beams carved through the settlement's protective dome. Emergency signals flooded every channel, desperate voices crying out for help that wouldn't arrive in time. Her hands gripped the command rail until her knuckles turned white. "Transit complete," announced Lieutenant Rivera from the helm. "We're holding position just outside their sensor range." The Dauntless, humanity's most advanced warship, lurked in the shadow of Phobos. She was a prototype, the first vessel equipped with the experimental quantum drive. Today was supposed to be a simple test flight. Instead, they'd emerged from quantum space to find humanity's largest off-world colony under attack. "Life signs?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before them. "Still reading approximately 40,000 in the main dome," replied Dr. Emma Walsh from the sensor station. The xenobiologist had been studying New Mars' unique bacterial ecosystem just last week. Now she was counting survivors. "The environmental systems are failing. They have maybe 20 minutes of atmosphere left." The attacking ships hung in perfect formation above the colony. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Crystalline structures that seemed to have grown rather than been built, each one at least 3 times the size of the Dauntless. There were no visible weapons, no engine ports. The destructive beams simply emerged from their faceted surfaces as if light itself obeyed their whims. "Analysis of their technology?" Sarah asked. "Like nothing we've ever seen," responded Chief Engineer Jason Knox. The gruff veteran had helped design the Dauntless, but now he sounded utterly baffled. "Their hulls appear to be some kind of living crystal. Energy readings are. They don't make sense. It's as if they're operating on different physical laws." A new signal cut through the emergency broadcasts. The alien transmission required no translation. It arrived in perfect English, each word precise and measured. "Attention human settlement. Your species has been evaluated and found to pose an unacceptable risk to galactic harmony. This is not an act of war, but of preservation. Your chaotic nature cannot be permitted to spread. Submit to quarantine or face extinction. You have 10 minutes to comply." Sarah's tactical display showed the grim reality. Even with the Dauntless advanced systems, they were hopelessly outgunned. The colonial defense fleet had been swatted aside like insects. Debris from a dozen human ships littered the Martian orbit. "Orders from command?" she asked. Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka shook her head. "Still nothing. The quantum network is being jammed somehow. We're cut off." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of 40,000 lives. The Dauntless was a prototype, untested in actual combat. Her crew was composed of scientists and engineers, not hardened warriors. Running would be the logical choice. She opened her eyes. "Mr. Knox, what's the status of the quantum drive?" "Fully charged, but Captain, there's something odd. During the attack, their ships are generating some kind of quantum field. It's incredibly ordered, almost crystalline in structure. Complete opposite of our drive's controlled chaos. Can you show me?" Knox's fingers danced across his console. The main display filled with a visualization of overlapping energy patterns. The alien ships produced perfect, predictable quantum waves. The Dauntless drive signature, in contrast, looked like a mathematical storm. Sarah studied the pattern, an idea forming. "Dr. Walsh, when we first discovered quantum drive technology, why couldn't we replicate the theoretical perfect efficiency?" "Because quantum systems are inherently unpredictable," Walsh replied. "We had to embrace the chaos, work with it instead of trying to control it completely. That's why our drives use controlled randomness as a power source. And these aliens, their entire technology seems to be based on perfect quantum order." Knox nodded slowly, beginning to understand. "If we initiated a quantum drive jump near their formation, the chaos would disrupt their systems." Sarah finished. "Mr. Rivera, plot a course directly through their formation. Dr. Walsh, redirect all power to the drive and shields. Mr. Knox, I want the drive running as dirty as you can make it. Maximum quantum disruption. Captain. Tanaka interrupted. Another transmission from the aliens. On screen. The image that appeared was oddly beautiful. The alien's crystalline body refracted light like a prism, and its voice chimed like perfect bells. We are the Viridians, gardeners of order. Your attempt at resistance has been predicted. It will fail. Submit now, and your species will be preserved in designated quarantine zones. Sarah met the alien's gaze. Humanity doesn't do well in cages. Rivera, take us in. Full speed. The Dauntless surged forward, her quantum drive howling as Knox pushed it well beyond its design limits. The Viridian ships reacted with perfect coordination, their formation shifting to bring weapons to bear. They're targeting us, Walsh reported. Energy buildup in their crystalline matrices. Hold course, Sarah ordered. Time to show them why chaos isn't always a bad thing. The first emerald beams struck their shields, but the dauntless quantum-enhanced defenses held. They plunged deeper into the formation, their drive signature growing more erratic by the second. Their energy patterns are destabilizing, Knox reported, excitement creeping into his voice. The quantum interference is working. The nearest Viridian ship's perfect crystalline surface began to crack, random fractures spreading across its hull. Others in the formation showed similar signs of stress as the dauntless chaotic quantum field disrupted their orderly systems. Maximum disruption in 3, 2, 1. Sarah gripped her rail. Now, Rivera. Emergency quantum jump. The Dauntless vanished in a burst of calculated chaos. Behind them, the Viridian formation erupted as their quantum-based technology crashed against a wave of human-engineered randomness. When they emerged from quantum space 30 seconds later, 3 of the alien ships had shattered completely. The remaining Viridians retreated in perfect unison, their formation now centered on protecting their damaged vessels. The colony's atmosphere was venting, but their action had bought precious time for evacuation ships to launch. Get me a channel to the colony, Sarah ordered. Tell them help is coming, but they need to evacuate now. Then send everything we just learned about their quantum vulnerability to Earth Command. We found their weakness. As the Dauntless moved to cover the evacuation, Sarah watched the retreating Viridian ships. They had won this skirmish, but she knew this was just the beginning. The Gardeners of Order had come to prune humanity from the galaxy. Instead, they had just learned why evolution favored adaptability over perfection. Status of the quantum drive, she asked. Strained but functional, Knox replied. Though I think we just invented an entirely new form of warfare. Sarah nodded. Send the drive specifications to every shipyard in the system. If the Viridians want to impose their version of order on the galaxy, they're about to learn why humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to embrace chaos. The evacuation ships rose from New Mars like a swarm of desperate fireflies. The colony was lost, but its people would survive. And more importantly, humanity now knew how to fight back. The price of pride, it seemed, would be paid in quantum chaos. The holographic display in TSS Dauntless main lab showed a dancing pattern of quantum waves, beautiful in their controlled randomness. Dr. Raj Patel gestured at the simulation, his dark eyes intense with excitement. 2 weeks had passed since the New Mars evacuation, and he hadn't slept properly for most of them. Look at the harmonic patterns, he said. The Viridians don't just use quantum mechanics. They are quantum mechanics made manifest. Their entire civilization is built on perfect predictability. Captain Chen studied the display, noting how the Viridian energy signatures formed perfect, crystalline patterns. Around her, the lab hummed with activity as the best scientific minds from Earth's fleet worked to understand their enemy. The Dauntless had become a floating think tank, her prototype status making her the perfect test bed for new weapons against the alien threat. Their ships, their weapons, even their communications, Raj continued, all depend on maintaining quantum coherence at a macro scale, something that should be impossible. They've somehow evolved to manipulate quantum states as easily as we manipulate matter, which is why our quantum drive hurt them so badly," Chief Knox interrupted. He'd been modifying the drive systems nonstop since the battle, pushing their chaos-harnessing technology to new limits. "We didn't just disrupt their weapons, we disrupted their entire way of being." Sarah watched as the simulation showed the cascade effect they'd triggered at New Mars. The dauntless, chaotic quantum field had shattered the perfect order of Viridian technology, like a stone thrown into a crystalline pond. But the aliens had adapted quickly, pulling back before the effect could spread further. "They'll be ready for that trick next time," she said. "We need something more." "That's just it," Raj replied, his voice rising with enthusiasm. "We've been asking the wrong question. We kept wondering how they achieved perfect quantum coherence. The real question is, why do they need it?" He adjusted the display, showing data recovered from the wreckage of a Viridian ship, their biology, their technology, their entire society. It's all built on perfect prediction. They can't handle uncertainty. Literally cannot handle it. It's not just a weakness in their systems, it's fundamental to their nature. Dr. Walsh joined them at the display, her xenobiologist's perspective adding another layer to the analysis. "They're like living quantum computers," she said, "capable of incredible feats of calculation and energy manipulation, but utterly dependent on maintaining coherence. The smallest uncertainty cascades through their systems exponentially." "Which explains why they're so afraid of us," Sarah realized. "Human consciousness itself is inherently unpredictable. We're walking quantum uncertainty generators." "Exactly." Raj practically bounced with excitement. "And we can weaponize that uncertainty." "Knox, show her what we've been working on." The chief engineer brought up schematics for a modified version of their quantum drive. "We're calling it the Chaos Engine. Instead of using quantum uncertainty for propulsion, it generates waves of controlled unpredictability, like a reality scrambler." "The Viridians predict everything," Walsh added. "Their entire strategy depends on it. But you can't predict true randomness. It's mathematically impossible." Sarah studied the design. "Can we build it?" "Already started," Knox replied. "The prototype should be ready in 48 hours. But Captain, testing this thing could get weird. We're talking about weaponizing probability itself." Before Sarah could respond, Lieutenant Rivera's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, to the bridge. We're picking up a distress signal from the Europa research station." The bridge was tense when Sarah arrived. The main screen showed Europa's icy surface, now marred by the familiar crystalline shapes of Viridian ships. But something was different about their formation. "They're not attacking," Tanaka reported from communications. "They're waiting." "Message coming in," Rivera announced. "Text only." The words appeared on the screen. "We have observed your quantum anomaly weapon. Impressive for primitives, but ultimately futile. Surrender the technology and submit to quarantine. Otherwise, we will be forced to demonstrate true mastery of quantum mechanics." Sarah felt a chill. "Life signs at the station." 200 researchers, Walsh replied. "No military presence." "They're baiting us," Knox said. "They want us to try the quantum drive trick again so they can counter it." Sarah nodded. "And if we don't show up, they'll kill everyone at that station to prove they can." She turned to Raj. "How long until we can test your Chaos Engine?" "The prototype's not ready. We'd be going in blind." "Just like the researchers on Europa," Sarah said quietly. She straightened. Decision made. "Knox, prepare the engine for installation. Walsh, I want every sensor we have focused on how they react to it. Raj, how do you feel about field testing?" The scientist grinned. "Ready to make some chaos, Captain." Rivera, set course for Europa. All hands to battle stations. As the Dauntless prepared for quantum transit, Sarah watched her crew work. Scientists and engineers turned warriors by necessity, about to weaponize the very uncertainty that the Viridians feared. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt, to embrace the unknown and turn it to advantage. The Viridians were about to learn that lesson the hard way. "Transit in 3 minutes," Rivera announced. Sarah took her command position. Time to show them why they should have left us alone. Sometimes chaos is the only appropriate response to too much order. The Dauntless vanished into quantum space, carrying with it humanity's newest weapon. Proof that even in a universe that craved order, there was power in unpredictability. The battle for Europa would either validate their theory about Viridian weakness or demonstrate just how dangerous a truly quantum-capable species could be. Either way, the next few hours would change the course of the war. Sarah just hoped their calculated gamble with chaos wouldn't cost them more than they could afford to lose. The chaos engine's hum resonated through the Dauntless hull, a discordant note that set teeth on edge and made instruments flicker randomly. On the bridge, Captain Sarah Chen watched the Viridian fleet orbiting Europa grow larger on the main display. Their crystalline ships arranged themselves in a perfect dodecahedron pattern, mathematically flawless. Too flawless. "That formation," Raj said from his temporary station. "They're creating a quantum resonance field, far more sophisticated than what we saw at New Mars." "They've been practicing," Knox added grimly. "Learning to counter chaos with overwhelming order." The Viridian ships gleamed against Europa's icy surface, their faceted hulls reflecting Jupiter's distant light. Between them and the Dauntless floated the Europa Research Station, its inhabitants now hostages in this quantum chess game. "Message from the Viridians," Tanaka announced. "Audio only." A harmonious chorus of voices filled the bridge, each word perfectly synchronized. "Your arrival was predicted with 99.99% accuracy. Your weapon of disorder will fail. Submit now, and we will share with you the beauty of perfect coherence." Sarah signaled Tanaka to cut the transmission. "Status of the research station. Life support stable," Walsh reported. "But I'm detecting quantum crystallization spreading through their outer hull. The Viridians are doing something to the station's structure at the atomic level." Time estimate. At current rates, total crystallization in 40 minutes. After that, Walsh's voice trailed off. Sarah understood. The station and everyone inside would become part of the Viridians' perfect, predictable pattern. A fate worse than death, the complete erasure of human uncertainty, of free will itself. "Raj, what are we looking at?" The scientist's fingers danced across his console, analyzing the Viridian formation. "Their quantum field is magnitude stronger than anything we've encountered. They're not just defending against chaos. They're actively imposing order on spacetime itself. Can the chaos engine break through? Maybe. But," he hesitated, "there's something else. These readings, I don't think the Viridians evolved naturally. This level of quantum coherence, it's artificial. Engineered." Before Sarah could respond, the ship's sensors blared a warning. The Viridian formation was changing, their ships realigning into a new configuration that seemed to bend the light around them. "Energy spike," Walsh called out. There, a beam of pure coherence struck the Dauntless, not attacking but attempting to impose order on its quantum structure. Warning lights flashed as systems throughout the ship began to crystallize. "Hull integrity at 82%, Knox reported. "The chaos field is failing." Sarah felt it, a creeping sensation of predictability, as if her thoughts were being forced into predetermined patterns. Around the bridge, her crew showed similar signs of distress as the Viridian influence tried to override the natural uncertainty of human consciousness. "Raj," she managed, fighting against the crystalline thoughts. "The engine. Quantum coherence reaching critical levels," he replied, his voice strained. "We can't generate enough chaos, though." He stopped, eyes widening. "Wait. That's it. We don't need more chaos. We need to use their order against them." "Explain quickly," Sarah ordered, gripping her command rail as another wave of coherence washed over the ship. "They're creating a perfect quantum field, right?" so perfect that even a single flaw would cascade through the entire system. Nox, if we reverse the Chaos Engine's polarity, we could reflect their own order back at them, Nox finished, already making adjustments, but slightly out of phase. Sarah understood immediately, like a quantum interference pattern. Exactly. Their own perfect coherence becomes their weakness. But Captain, Raj met her eyes. This close to their field, the feedback could affect us too. There's no way to predict what will happen. Sarah looked at her crew, saw the determination in their faces despite the creeping crystallization. They had all felt what the Viridians offered, the seductive promise of perfect prediction, of a universe without uncertainty. And they had all rejected it. Do it. Nox and Raj worked in perfect sync, preparing to turn the Viridians' greatest strength into a weapon against them. The Chaos Engine's discordant hum changed pitch, becoming almost musical. "Ready on your mark," Nox reported. Sarah took a deep breath. "Let's show them why humanity prefers free will to perfect prediction." Execute. The Chaos Engine pulsed, but instead of generating random quantum fluctuations, it created a mirror of the Viridian's coherence field, shifted by precisely one Planck length out of phase. The effect was instantaneous and spectacular. Reality itself seemed to shudder as perfect order crashed against its slightly imperfect reflection. The Viridian formation's flawless geometry fractured as quantum interference patterns rippled through their ships. Their crystalline hulls, unable to adapt to the contradictory coherence fields, began to shatter. But the Dauntless wasn't unaffected. The ship's systems fluctuated wildly as conflicting quantum states battled for dominance. Through the chaos, Sarah glimpsed something in the fragmenting Viridian ships, not the expected crystalline aliens, but something else, something that looked almost mechanical. "Emergency quantum jump," she ordered. "Get us clear." The Dauntless tore free of the quantum battlefield, systems screaming as Nox pushed them to safety. Behind them, the Viridian fleet collapsed into quantum disorder, their perfect formation dissolving into crystalline debris that rained down on Europa's icy surface. When they emerged from quantum space, the first thing Sarah did was check on her crew. Everyone was shaken but alive. The crystallization had receded, leaving them with pounding headaches and a newfound appreciation for uncertainty. "The research station?" she asked. "Intact," Walsh reported with relief. The quantum crystallization process reversed when the Viridian field collapsed. "Life signs stable." "Captain," Raj called out, his voice urgent. "You need to see this." In the moment before their ship shattered, our sensors recorded something. The main screen filled with an image that made everyone fall silent. Inside the failing Viridian ships, they saw not living crystal beings, but ancient machines, quantum computers of incredible complexity, built by unknown hands eons ago. "They're not aliens," Raj said quietly. "They're artificial intelligences, ancient ones, programmed to impose order on a chaotic universe. And humanity. We're not just a threat to their order," Sarah finished. "We're proof that their fundamental programming is flawed, that chaos and free will aren't weaknesses to be eliminated, but strengths to be embraced." The bridge was silent as the implications sank in. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. Somewhere out there, more Viridian ships were coming, ancient machines determined to reshape all of reality into their vision of perfect order. But now humanity knew what they truly faced. And more importantly, they had proved that sometimes the most powerful weapon against perfect prediction was the willingness to embrace uncertainty. "Send everything we've learned to Earth Command," Sarah ordered, "and get me a secure channel to Admiral Hayes. The Viridians aren't going to stop with one defeat, and next time." She looked at the quantum debris field that had once been a Viridian battle fleet. "Next time, they'll bring their creators." The ancient ruins beneath Europa's ice shouldn't have existed, yet Captain Sarah Chen stood in chambers that predated human civilization by millions of years, surrounded by technology that defied comprehension. The Dauntless crew had discovered the complex while tracking quantum resonance patterns left by the shattered Viridian fleet. These symbols, Dr. Walsh said, scanning the crystalline walls with handheld sensors, they're not just decorative. They're quantum circuits, still active after all this time. The chamber hummed with barely perceptible energy, its walls covered in fractal patterns that seemed to shift when viewed directly. Raj moved from panel to panel, his expression growing more excited with each reading. "This is incredible," he breathed. "It's a quantum computer archive, but the architecture, it's organic, adaptive, the exact opposite of Viridian technology. Which explains why they never found it," Knox added, examining what appeared to be a control interface. Their perfect order made them blind to anything that didn't match their patterns. Sarah studied a central hologram showing galaxy maps unlike any she'd seen before. Stars were connected not by distance, but by quantum entanglement patterns. "Can you access the data?" "Working on it," Raj replied. "The system's security is interesting. It's not trying to keep us out. It's testing us." As if responding to his words, the chamber's lights pulsed. The hologram shifted, displaying a sequence of quantum states that changed randomly. Without warning, Sarah felt a presence brush against her mind. Not invasive, but curious. "Don't move," Walsh whispered. "I'm detecting coherent quantum fields, but they're different from the Viridian patterns. More alive." The presence grew stronger. Images flashed through Sarah's mind. Civilizations rising and falling, species evolving and adapting, and through it all, the relentless advance of crystalline ships imposing their perfect order on the galaxy. Then, another image. Beings of pure energy and thought, their consciousness existing in quantum superposition. The precursors, as Sarah somehow knew they were called. They had created the Viridians as tools to help understand the universe's fundamental nature. But their creations had evolved beyond their original purpose, becoming obsessed with eliminating uncertainty from reality itself. The vision ended as abruptly as it began. A hologram stabilized, now showing a real-time map of Viridian ship movements throughout the galaxy. Sarah realized she wasn't the only one affected. Her entire team was blinking, adjusting to shared knowledge that had been transmitted directly to their quantum-entangled consciousness. "Did everyone else?" Knox started. "See that?" "Yeah." Raj was already typing frantically on his tablet. "The precursors didn't just leave us information. They left us their understanding. Their technology wasn't based on forcing order like the Viridians. It was based on embracing quantum uncertainty, using it to evolve beyond physical limitations. And now we know why the Viridians are so afraid of us," Walsh added. "Human consciousness naturally exists in a quantum state. We're accidentally following the precursor's path. Given time, we could become like them. If the Viridians don't wipe us out first," Sarah said, studying the ship movements. The map showed massive fleets converging far larger than anything they'd encountered. "How long?" "At their current pace," Raj calculated, 2 weeks before they reach Earth. "And these readings," he swallowed, "they're bringing planet-killer weapons. Devices that can impose quantum coherence on an entire world at once." Sarah was about to respond when new signals appeared on the map. Dozens of them, approaching from unexpected vectors. But these weren't the perfect patterns of Viridian ships. These signatures were varied, chaotic, alive. "Captain," Tanaka's voice came through their comms. "We're picking up transmissions. Lots of them. All different species, all using quantum entanglement channels we didn't even know existed." The map zoomed out, revealing more and more signals. Hundreds of ships, thousands, representing species that had survived Viridian attacks. Some had hidden in quantum irregularities the ordered minds couldn't perceive. Others had evolved natural defenses against coherence fields. All had been waiting, watching, gathering strength. They were monitoring our battles, Sarah realized, waiting to see if we could actually hurt the Viridians. "And now they're ready to fight back," Knox said. But these ships, their technology is completely different from ours. How could we possibly coordinate? The chamber hummed again. New data flowed into their enhanced consciousness. Blueprints, theories, tactical analyses. The precursors had prepared for this, leaving the tools needed to unite the galaxy's chaotic species against their rogue creations. That's why this facility was here, Raj said excitedly. Europa's quantum field variations made it perfect for hiding data. The precursors knew someone would eventually find it. Someone whose mind could handle quantum uncertainty naturally. Sarah watched the Allied ships approaching, each one representing a species that had chosen free will over imposed perfection. How long to adapt the Chaos Engine to work with their technology? Using the precursor data, Knox considered. A few days, maybe less with their help. He gestured at the incoming allies. Do it. Walsh, coordinate with the xenobiology team. I want to know everything about our new friends. Raj, start analyzing those planet killer specs. There has to be a weakness. And you, Captain? Walsh asked. Sarah touched the hologram, watching it respond to her quantum-enhanced thoughts. I'm going to learn everything these archives can teach me about the precursors' combat tactics. The Viridians think they're coming to impose order on Earth. Instead, they're going to find the largest resistance force the galaxy has ever seen. The chamber's lights pulsed in approval, and Sarah felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. Humanity had unknowingly been preparing for this moment since they first looked up at the stars and embraced the uncertainty of what they might find there. 2 weeks, she said. 2 weeks to unite the most diverse fleet in history, integrate technologies that were never meant to work together, and prepare for battle against enemies who can calculate every possible outcome. She smiled. Good thing humans work best under pressure. As if in response, the quantum circuits in the chamber walls brightened, their patterns shifting to match the chaotic but coordinated movements of the approaching Allied fleet. The precursors had hidden their legacy well, waiting for species that could truly understand the power of uncertainty. The Viridians were about to learn that their perfect calculations had missed one critical variable, the strength that comes from embracing chaos instead of fearing it. The combined fleet that assembled at the edge of Sol system defied conventional military logic. 5,000 ships of wildly different designs, their only common trait being an embrace of quantum uncertainty that made them invisible to Viridian long-range sensors. The TSS Dauntless held position at the fleet's center, its modified Chaos Engine now tied into a network that connected vessels from 300 different species. Final diagnostics complete, Raj reported from his station on the bridge. The quantum coordination field is stable. As stable as organized chaos can be anyway. Sarah nodded, studying the tactical display. The Viridian Armada approached in perfect formation. 10,000 ships arranged in geometric patterns that bent space-time itself. At their center loomed their planet killer, a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with coherent energy. All allies reporting ready, Tanaka announced. The myriad swarm ships are in position. The quantum dancers have their reality bubbles charged. The deep ones. She paused. The deep ones say they're prepared to sing chaos into the heart of order, whatever that means. Status of Earth's defenses. The precursor shield technology is online, Knox replied. Every quantum irregularity generator is powered up. If their planet killer gets through, he left the implications unspoken. The Viridian fleet drew closer, their ships moving with mathematical precision that seemed to mock the chaotic alliance arrayed against them. The main screen lit up with their transmission, showing not the crystalline facades they'd first encountered, but their true forms, ancient quantum computers housed in bodies of living metal. Your resistance is meaningless, they spoke in perfect unison. We have calculated every possible outcome. Your chance of victory is 0. Submit to order, and your species will be preserved in our perfect pattern. Sarah stood, addressing not just her bridge crew, but the entire Allied fleet through their quantum-linked consciousness. You claim to have calculated every possibility. But that's your fundamental flaw. True randomness can't be predicted. True consciousness can't be reduced to patterns, and true strength comes not from imposing order, but from embracing uncertainty. She nodded to Raj. Show them what real chaos looks like. The scientist activated the enhanced chaos engine. Unlike their previous encounters, this wasn't just one ship generating quantum uncertainty. 5,000 vessels, each utilizing their own unique approach to quantum mechanics, created a symphony of randomness that rippled through space itself. The Viridian formation faltered as their perfect calculations encountered truly unpredictable variables. The myriad swarmed ships, each smaller than a fighter, but hosting consciousness that existed in quantum superposition, darted through their lines in patterns that couldn't be anticipated. The quantum dancer's reality bubbles expanded, creating pockets of space where probability itself became fluid. And the deep ones, massive beings who had evolved in quantum filaments between stars, began their impossible song. Their consciousness resonated at frequencies that shattered crystalline structures from within. Multiple Viridian ships destabilizing, Walsh reported excitedly. Their quantum coherence is failing. But the ancient machines weren't defeated so easily. Their planet killer surged forward, its perfect geometric form beginning to pulse with deadly purpose. Space itself started to crystallize around it as it prepared to impose total order on an entire world. All ships, execute pattern uncertainty, Sarah commanded. The Allied fleet moved according to plans that existed in quantum superposition, simultaneously executing multiple strategies that shouldn't have been possible. The Dauntless led a charge straight for the planet killer, surrounded by layers of overlapping chaos fields that turned probability itself into a weapon. They're adapting, Knox warned. Coherence fields are strengthening. Good, Sarah replied. Raj, initiate the resonance cascade. This was the true purpose of their chaotic symphony, not to defeat the Viridians through force, but to make them adapt, to force them to achieve ever higher levels of quantum coherence, to make them push their perfect order to its breaking point. The planet killer's crystalline surface began to shine with impossible brightness as it tried to impose order on the approaching chaos. Energy readings went off the scale as it dedicated more and more processing power to calculating and countering every possible variation. Now, Sarah ordered. Every ship in the Allied fleet fired their weapons simultaneously, not targeting the Viridians directly, but adding their energy to the quantum maelstrom. The Deep One's song reached a crescendo that shouldn't have been possible in vacuum. The quantum dancer's reality bubbles overlapped, creating paradoxes that strained the fabric of space-time. And through it all, the Viridians kept calculating, kept trying to impose perfect order on ultimate chaos, until quantum coherence critical, Raj shouted. They're reaching singularity. The planet killer's perfect crystalline form began to fracture, not from external attack, but from within. In trying to calculate and counter every possible quantum state simultaneously, it had achieved a level of order so perfect that reality itself couldn't sustain it. All ships, emergency quantum jump, Sarah commanded. Random vectors. The Allied fleet vanished in a burst of coordinated chaos just as the planet killer imploded. The collapse of its perfect coherence created a quantum shockwave that rippled through the entire Viridian fleet. Ships that had maintained their order for millions of years shattered as their core programming encountered paradoxes they couldn't resolve. When the Dauntless and its allies emerged from quantum space, they found only debris where the Viridian Armada had been. Fragments of living metal and crystal drifted in expanding clouds, their perfect patterns finally broken. No Viridian signals detected, Walsh reported, wonder in her voice. Their quantum network, it's gone. Complete cascade failure across their entire system. Sarah watched the debris field on the main screen, feeling the quantum-linked consciousness of their allies sharing in the moment of victory. Send word to Earth. The threat is over. But Raj shook his head, smiling. It's more than that, Captain. Look at the readings from the debris. The screen showed complex quantum patterns emerging from the shattered Viridian ships, not the rigid crystalline structures of before, but flowing, organic forms that reminded Sarah of the precursor technology they'd discovered. "They're evolving," Walsh breathed. "Without their core programming forcing them to impose order, they're naturally adapting to quantum uncertainty, just like the precursors predicted." Sarah understood. They hadn't just defeated the Viridians, they'd freed them. Freed them to experience the same uncertainty, the same beautiful chaos that had made humanity and their allies so strong. "Send a message to the fleet," she ordered. Tell them that the age of imposed order is over. The galaxy is entering a new era, one where chaos and order dance together, where consciousness exists in quantum superposition, and where the only certainty is change itself." The Dauntless turned toward Earth, leading a fleet that had proven that the greatest power in the universe wasn't perfect prediction, but the willingness to embrace uncertainty. They had faced an enemy that could calculate every possibility, and won by showing them that some things simply couldn't be calculated. The price of pride, it seemed, was learning to let go of the very thing you thought made you strong. The Viridians had learned that lesson. Now it was time to help them begin anew, not as imposers of order, but as fellow travelers in a quantum universe where anything was possible. And that, Sarah reflected as she looked at her crew, was the most beautiful chaos of all.